Yeah, so the influences of the astrological alignments, the celestial bodies, the moon, the planets, the position of our galaxy in the universe, all these types of things, like everything, it's all interconnected and it all has some influence on us in some way. In my personal life and approach, I don't know much of the details of that, but I do recognize the validity of the influence that these um, astrological alignments and events have on the planets. In particular, the individual, even more specifically during this process, because of course we become very sensitive to a lot of things. Become sensitive to, going in the grocery store and standing next to somebody who's not having a good day. So of course, these gigantic planets are also going to have some influence on the very sensitive, nervous systems that we're walking around with. How and the details above my pay grade, not my particular interest, but there are those who are very astute in describing some of these more nuanced details, which you can look into. And in my view, I think it's valid. One thing that you can note is, yes, according to certain cycles, it seems you're very sensitive. Each month, every full moon, you're having, you're taking note that there's some alignment happening. It's valid. It's valid. For me, the moon's alignment I don't feel it so much, but eclipses, very much so. Even leading up to the eclipse, afterwards, I can really note some energetic stuff. Sometimes in my personal life, emotionally, things are coming up, and I can either anticipate, okay, I've got some intensities coming because I may hear the news about an eclipse. I can just take note of that, and maybe in my life I'll take a little bit of space. I'll kind of maybe keep my schedule a little bit light, just so I can anticipate some energetic movements and then I can process it. In hindsight, looking back, maybe you don't recognize it, that there's, some sort of astrological event, and you go through something really intense. And a week later, you look and you say, oh, there was an eclipse on the other hemisphere. Okay, I see why it was so intense. So maybe that's another way that we can be a little bit more in a state of surrender and understanding that maybe, you had some very significant emotional event take place between you and a person in your life, and you want to blame them. A week later, you recognize, eclipse, we're all being affected. Okay, maybe it wasn't so much their fault, and they're just, going along with, the influences of all of these energies that we're dealing with in the world. So these are some things you can keep in mind. Hatha yoga. Sorry, just one last thing. So hatha yoga is a type of yoga. Hatha meaning sun and moon. So the goal of hatha yoga is to create a balance and a unity between the sun and the moon, those energies, which is of course an eclipse. And if you read the text Hatha Yoga Pradipika, I'm going to write it in the chat here. Hatha Yoga Pradipika. It is, I spelled it wrong, yoga, not Yoda. So it's a text that speaks directly about Kundalini awakening in a very clear way. It's not so much about, downward dog and whatnot. It's about awakening of Kundalini.